Hello viewers, welcome to our channel Career Prep. Today we learn how to solve problems on the topic average when one entry is wrong. Since questions based on this topic are frequently asked in competitive exams, it makes sense to understand the concept well. These questions are the ones where marks can be scored easily if practiced well. Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel. Also press the bell icon to get notifications as soon as we post a new video. So let's start. Remember these three formulae because they'll help in easy solving of problems on average where there is a wrong entry. Sum of all the items is equal to average multiplied by number of items. Correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. Average is equal to sum of all the items divided by number of items. So please memorize these three formula and remember them correctly. The average of 40 observations was 46. Later on, it was found that an observation 38 was wrongly taken as 33. Find the correct average. Now we know that to find the correct average, the formula is correct average is equal to correct sum divided by number of observations. From the question, we know that the number of observations is 40. So if we calculate the correct sum, then we can find the correct average. Now it's given that average is 46 and number of observations is 40. We know that sum of all the observations is equal to average multiplied by number of observations. This is 46 multiplied by 40, which is 1840. Now this 1840 is the incorrect sum of all the observations because while calculating the average, one observation was wrongly taken. So the incorrect sum of all the observations is 1840. It's given that the correct observation uh, is 38, but it was wrongly taken as 33. So the wrong value is 33. Now we know that the correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So 1840 plus 38 minus 33 will give us 1845. So 1845 is the correct sum. We know that the number of observations is 40. So the correct average is 1845 divided by 40, which is 46.125. So the correct average is 46.125. The average marks secured by 15 students is 70, and later it was found that one entry is wrong and 65 is written instead of 45. So find the correct average. Now to find the correct average, use the formula correct average is equal to correct sum divided by number of students. Now according to the question, we know that the number of students is 15. So if we calculate the correct sum, then we can find the correct average. Now it's given that the average is 70 and number of students is 15. So we know that sum of all the marks is equal to average multiplied by number of students. So this is 70 multiplied by 15, which is 1050. But this 1050 is not the correct sum of all the marks. It is the incorrect sum of all the marks because while calculating the average marks, one entry was wrong. So the incorrect sum of all the marks is 1050. Now it's given that the correct marks is 45, but it was wrongly written as 65. So the wrong marks is 65. Now we know that correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So 1050 plus 45 minus 65 is equal to 1030. So the correct sum is 1030. We know that the number of students is 15. So uh, correct average is equal to 1030 divided by 15, which is 68.66. So the correct average is 68.66. The average of 10 numbers is calculated as 15. It is discovered later on that while calculating the average, one number, namely 36, was wrongly read as 26. Find the correct average. Now to find the correct average, use the formula correct average is equal to correct sum divided by total amount of numbers. Now according to the question, total amount of numbers is 10. So if we calculate the correct sum, then we can find the correct average. Now it's given that average is 15 and total amount of numbers is 10. We know that sum of all the numbers is equal to average multiplied by total amount of numbers. This is 15 multiplied by 10, which is 150. Now this 150 is not the correct sum of all the numbers, because while calculating the average, it was one number was wrongly read. So 150 is the incorrect sum of all the numbers. Now it's given that the correct number was 36, but it was wrongly read as 26. So the wrong number is 26. To calculate the correct sum, use the formula correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So correct sum is equal to 150 plus 36 minus 26, which is 160. So the correct sum is 160 and the total amount of numbers is 10. So the correct average is 160 divided by 10, which is 16. A team of 8 entered for a shooting competition. The best marksman scored 85 points. If he had scored 92 points, the average score for the team would have been 84. How many points altogether did the team score? Now it's given that the average score is 84 and the number of team members is 8. We know that sum of all the scores is equal to average multiplied by number of team members. So this is 84 multiplied by 8, which gives us 672. Now 672 is not the correct sum of scores, because while calculating the average, it has been assumed that that if the marksman had scored 92 points, then the average would have been 84. But the marksman had scored only 85. So, since the uh, score of the marksman has been assumed to be 92 while calculating the average, this is 672 is not the correct sum of scores. 672 is the incorrect sum of scores. Now the marksman had scored 85 points, so the correct score is 85. While calculating the average, it has been assumed that if the marksman had scored 92 points, so the wrong score is 92. Now we know that correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So the correct sum is 672 plus 85 minus 92, which is 665. So the correct sum is 665. So the team scored 665 points altogether. Ram's marks were wrongly entered as 83 instead of 63. If the average marks calculated for the whole class increased by half, then find the number of students in the class. Since we do not know the number of students in the class, let's assume that the number of students in the class is x. Now it's given that the average increases by half. So the total increase in marks for x students is x multiplied by half, which is x by 2. Now this increase in marks is because the correct marks 63 was wrongly entered as 83. So total increase in marks is equal to wrong marks entered minus correct marks. So x by 2 is equal to 83 minus 63. So x is equal to 2 multiplied by 20, which is 40. So the number of students in the class is 40. In a village, the average age of n people is 42 years. But after verification, it was found that the age of a person had been considered 20 years less than his actual age. So the new average after the correction increased by 1. Find the value of n. Now we know that sum of all the ages is equal to average multiplied by number of people. It's given that the average age is 42 and number of people is n. So sum of all the ages is 42 multiplied by n, which is 42n. But 42n is not the correct sum of all the ages, because while calculating the average, it was found that the age of a person had been considered 20 years less than his actual age. So 42n is the incorrect sum of all the ages. Now it's given that after the correction, the new average increased by 1. Now the earlier average was 42. So the new average is 42 plus 1, which is 43. The new average is 43. Number of people is n. So the correct sum is equal to average multiplied by number of people, which is 43 multiplied by n, which is 43n. So the correct sum is 43n. Now we do not know the value of n. We have to find the value of n. Also, we do not know the actual age of the person uh, whose age has been considered 20 years less than his actual age. So let the actual age of the person be x. Then the wrong age considered is x minus 20. Now we know that correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So we know that the correct sum is 43n, incorrect sum is 42n, correct value is x, and wrong value is x minus 20. So substituting all these values in this formula, we get 43n is equal to 42n plus x minus x minus 20. On solving this, we get n is equal to 20. The average marks in English of a class of 20 students is 68. If the marks of two students were misread as 48 and 65 of the actual marks 72 and 61 respectively, then find the correct average. Now to find the correct average, use the formula correct average is equal to correct sum divided by number of students. Now according to the question, we know that the number of students is 20. So if we find the correct sum, then we can calculate the correct average. Now it's given that the average is 68 and number of students is 20. So sum of all the marks is equal to average multiplied by number of students, which is 68 multiplied by 20, which gives us 1360. But this 1360 is not the correct sum of all the marks, because while calculating the average marks, the marks of two students were misread. So 1360 is the incorrect sum of all the marks. Now it's given that the correct marks of two students is 72 and 61, but they were misread as 48 and 65. So the wrong marks of the two students is 48 and 65. Now we know that correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So the correct sum is equal to 1360 plus 72 plus 61 minus 48 plus 65. This is nothing but 1360 plus 133 minus 113, which gives us 1380. So 1380 is the correct sum. Now we know that the correct sum is 1380 and number of students in the class is 20. So the correct average is 1380 divided by 20, which is 69. So the correct average is 69. The average marks of 14 students was calculated as 71. But it was later found that the marks of one student had been wrongly entered as 42 instead of 56, and of another student as 74 instead of 32. Find the correct average. Now we know that correct average is equal to correct sum divided by number of students. Now according to the question, we know that the number of students is 14. So if we calculate the correct sum, then we can calculate the correct average. Now it's given that the average marks is 71 and number of students is 14. So sum of all the marks is equal to average multiplied by number of students, which is 71 multiplied by 14, which gives us 994. Now this 994 is not the correct sum of all the marks, because while calculating the average marks, the marks of two students have been wrongly entered. So 994 is the incorrect sum of all the marks. Now it's given that the correct marks of two students is 56 and 32, but they were wrongly entered as 42 and 74. So the wrong marks of two students is 42 and 74. Now we know that the correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So correct sum is equal to 994 plus 56 plus 32 minus 42 plus 74. This is nothing but 994 plus 88 minus 116, which gives us 966. So the correct sum is 966 and the number of students is 14. So the correct average is 966 divided by 14, which gives us 69. So the correct average is 69. The average marks in science of a class of 24 students is 56. If the marks of 3 students were misread as 44, 45 and 61, of the actual marks 48, 59 and 67 respectively, then what would be the correct average? Now we know that the correct average is equal to correct sum divided by number of students. Now according to the question, we know that the number of students is 24. So if we calculate the correct sum, then we can calculate the correct average. Now it's given that the average is 56 and number of students is 24. We know that sum of all the marks is equal to average multiplied by number of students. This is 56 multiplied by 24, which gives us 1344. But this 1344 is not the correct sum of all the marks, because while calculating the average marks, the marks of 3 students were misread. So 1344 is the incorrect sum of all the marks. Now it's given that the correct marks of 3 students is 48, 59 and 67, but they were misread as 44, 45 and 61. So the wrong marks of 3 students is 44, 45 and 61. Now we know that correct sum is equal to incorrect sum plus correct value minus wrong value. So correct sum is equal to 1344 plus 48 plus 59 plus 67 minus 44 plus 45 plus 61. This is nothing but 1344 plus 174 minus 150, which gives us 1368. So the correct sum is 1368 and number of students is 24. So the correct average is 1368 divided by 24, which gives us 57. So the correct average is 57. Viewers, please go through this video till you have understood the concept. Practice more problems on this topic to understand the concept thoroughly as well as to increase your speed. Please do watch our video on the topic Solved Problems on Average Speed. If you have liked this video, please like, subscribe and share this video. Thank you.